Hey everyone, it is Coach Jeevers and I am here at Youngevity and I'm excited to start talking a little bit about keto. But before I do that, I know many of you were up at 6 a.m. checking out the Youngevity fan page, hoping for a news alert, an exciting news alert. And I'll tell you what, man, it was Michelle and Steve Wallach's anniversary yesterday, and it was a doozy of a night. I'm kidding. But we actually had a really great time, and it was their anniversary. But the announcement we're actually going to post after this Facebook Live. So after I get finished, and I promise, I know it went really long last time, I'm only go for 30 minutes this time, is that right after I end, please go to the Youngevity fan page and check out the brand new announcement that we have for you. And I will tell you, I think that this Facebook Live is going to be pretty exciting, but this announcement is like times that by 100. So please make sure that you get on the Youngevity fan page to check out that announcement. So anyways, guys, I know that many of you knew that I was going to do this about keto last night, and you guys sent me your questions, and I super appreciate it. And I want to let you know that I'm going to cover all of these questions hopefully during the presentation, but then also for sure when I'm finished. So I'll like wait for the next, last 5-10 minutes or so. And if you have additional questions, feel free to post that on Facebook, and I'll make sure that I either get to it on this Facebook Live or afterwards, okay? So anyways, guys, I know many of you have been getting on the ketogenic kind of a lifestyle, nutritional lifestyle. Tracy Wagstaff, Paul Croto, Dr. Joanne Conaway, Dr. Drog from New Zealand and Australia, all have been incredible ambassadors for the ketogenic and the Keto 90 program, if you will, which is kind of our little version of the ketogenic diet. Many of you know the ketogenic diet has been around for a very long time. It actually started in the 1920s, 1930s as a nutritional regimen for kids, kids and adults for seizures, epileptic seizures. And from that, they found that, these individuals were not only having greater neurological benefits because, 80% of your brain is healthy fats and the diet is based on healthy fats, but they were also changing their body composition. They were actually maintaining their muscle mass, yet they were losing body fat. And they started realizing, wait a second, there's something more to this. And it became a very popular and noted fat loss regimen, and now it's kind of been brought back to the forefront because here's the thing, guys, every year there's always that new kind of weight loss strategy, right? We all lived through, the high protein Atkins South Beach diet type of thing, and then all of a sudden it became kind of the high fat thing, and then it became, exercise and certain exercises became really popular. It just kind of, the cabbage soup diet, the Hollywood diet, the grapefruit diet, the vegetable diet, the juicing. All of these things just kind of keep coming around every couple years or so. And let me tell you something. Every one of them, most of them have really great validity and really great anecdotal evidence, as well as science and a lot of really great philosophy, okay, right? A lot of great physiological philosophy, if you will, right? There's good science behind most of these things, And for those of you that come to my presentations and stuff, I always talk about two things in regards to weight loss, okay? I talk about the fact that it's all about time and intensity. If you look, it's all about time and intensity, okay, right? The more intensity, the more intense you're going to be on any type of nutritional regimen, the less time it's going for you to take to get to your goal. The less intense you're going to be, the more time it's going to take. And is this rocket science? Not rocket science, because this is for anything, whether it's studying, whether it's practicing anything, whether it's being good at anything, reaching your goal in any way. These are kind of, for me, the two constants with these elements of variables, if you will, okay, right? And so the ketogenic diet is one of the ones where, here's the thing. Let me be honest with you, okay, right? I'm just like you, okay, right? I'm just like you. I understand what it's like to not be at the right weight or be heavy. I was, as many of you know, I was a little chubby little kid, okay, right? And I was a pretty sensitive kid, okay, right? So I knew that I was chubby, okay, right? And I knew what people were saying and how embarrassing it was and all that sort of stuff. And it really kind of got to me. And I was kind of chubby, if you will, all the way to about high school, when then I decided, you know what? I don't want to go into high school being chubby and stuttering and being Indian and not having really cool clothes. And I knew I had a lot of things against me. And I was like, okay, dude, what's one thing I could really work on? And I figured, well, maybe it could be my weight. So what I did, because I didn't know anything, is I just said, okay, I'm just going to eat a whole lot less. I remember I would just eat dal bhat, which is an Indian soup and rice. And so I would eat soup and rice every day. That's it, okay? And then I would run. I literally would run 3 times a day. I had these Andre Agassi-like shoes. I remember they were like all these weird colors. And I would like run in the morning, run in the afternoon, run at night. And I basically ran all summer and ate dal bhat, and I got to be of a lesser weight, if you will, okay, right? That doesn't work anymore, okay, right? And as you get older, those strategies that your body was able to do and more resilient early on are not the same later on, okay, right? And here's the thing, guys. I was super intense because I only ate very little and I ran a lot, and it didn't take a lot of time, okay, right? And so there's all those types of strategies that's going on. And one of the things with keto is that keto, as I've noticed, compared to low calorie, high nutrient density diets, and by the way, that's going to be a new nutrition plan, or it's not even a new nutrition plan. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you remember a nutrition plan that we used to promote that was kind of a lower calorie plan. It was very simple plan. It was used along with a product that we had called ASAP that we redeveloped to Rev into a better formula. We're going to be reintroducing that nutritional plan simply because there was a lot of people that had success with the nutrition plan. And remember this about weight loss. The nutrition plan does the heavy lifting. It's not the products. It's not the keto shake. It's not the Rev. It's not the sweeties. It's not the 94. That doesn't do the heavy lifting in regards to weight loss. The heavy lifting happens with the nutrition plan. And that's why for those of you that are not focused on being on a solid nutrition plan and trying to get the products to just do the work, it's going to have some effect, but it's not going to have as optimal effect or maximum effect as you want. That's why choosing the right nutritional plan, choosing the right program that you can follow is so important. And that's why Steve Wallach and myself have really focused on saying, listen, guys, everybody's a little bit different. Some people like keto, some people like low calories, some people like doing a detox, some people like, let's create nutritional plans. And that's what you're going to see, by the way, in Youngevity at the end of 2017, 2018, is new nutritional plans that are all very healthy nutritional plans that may fit your lifestyle and your preferences better than someone else, okay, right? And so you've got a choice. Because at the very end of the day, as Dr. Wallach has already taught us, is that there are certain principles of health, certain principles of nutrition that if you follow, you're going to get a great wellness, right? Now you can do some enhanced things, which then you're able to get to certain goals besides just wellness. And that's where kind of weight loss fits into, is doing some enhanced things on that basis of wellness that will get you to a goal. And I love what Steve said at the other day, is he said, which I think he kind of stole it from me because I've said this kind of a little bit sometimes, is I've said that at the very end of the day, when you get really, really healthy, the byproduct is you lose weight. And Dr. Wallach has always said at the very end of the day, just get really, really healthy. And once that happens, everything else takes care of itself. No matter what weight issues you have, no matter what health issues you have, no matter what behavioral issues we have, no matter what emotional issues you have, if you get really, really healthy and do all the right things, you'll be amazed at how the body just realigns itself and makes sure that it gets you to the optimal level of wellness, if you will. So, anyways, the thing about the keto is this, okay? And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been working with keto for a long time. Keto is one of those nutritional plans that you cannot be flexible in. There are no cheat days with keto. There are no cheat hours with keto. There are no cheat minutes with keto. There are no cheat seconds with keto. If you are going to be on the ketogenic lifestyle, or actually the ketogenic plan, okay, right? Because I'm not sure I'm willing to honestly say that the ketogenic plan is something that I would do for the rest of my life. I like going into balanced nutrition after I do some sort of burst. And that's why you'll notice that on the healthybodychallenge.com site, we're going to talk about these things as bursts, 30-day bursts or 90-day bursts, because I do believe that the intensity of some of these plans are something that you don't necessarily have to do after you hit your goal weight. You need to get into a maintenance point and a wellness point that involves a little bit more balance, if you will. Okay, right? That's just my opinion. Okay, right? And so the ketogenic thing, though, if you want it to work, you got to be very, very diligent about it. You got to be very committed about it. I mean, it's a very specific program with a very specific amount of protein and carbohydrates and fat, and you got to stay within that, because any type of variance, in my experience, will kick you out of the process that your body is going through to be able to lose weight, which is called ketosis. So let's back up here a second, okay, right? Very simply, what is the ketogenic program? I know many of you guys know this, but just real quick, the ketogenic program really focuses on, if you want to just know one thing, it is consuming high amounts of healthy fat. That's it. That's it. This is, if there's one definition compared to the Atkins, what's Atkins, South Beach? Consume high amounts of protein. What is the low calorie, high nutrient density? Try to stay in a low calorie environment. What is, what's another one? Watching your macros, right? That's another nutritional philosophy, right? Is that you have to stay within a certain amount of macros, meaning a certain amount of protein, carbs, and fats. You're calculating your calories, calculating your macros. Every one of these nutritional plans that, by the way, have stood the test of time to show people that when you get on them and you do them intensely, that you have the ability to get well and lose weight, all have one definition. The ketogenic, simple definition, you're consuming high amounts of healthy fat. The second subdefinition, okay, right, is the fact that you are consuming low or restricted amount of carbs. That's it. Main thing, high healthy fat, but because you're consuming high amounts of healthy fat, you're also consuming low to restrictive amounts of carbohydrates. Now, the question becomes, how much carbohydrates? Well, in theory, if you could consume 0 amounts of carbohydrates, that would actually not be bad. That would be great. And the reason why that would be great is because this entire thing is meant to put you into ketosis. And ketosis is simply getting your body to be so starved of its routine energy source, what it's used to, which is carbohydrates, that it has to just be like, where am I going to get this energy? Let me go get it from fat. Because I can't go get it from protein. It doesn't want to necessarily go get it from protein because it knows that getting it from protein, and do remember, just real quick, there are only three places to get energy. There is fat, there is carbs, and there is protein. That's the only three places your body can go get its energy. And also, by the way, these are the only three things that are in food. There's only fat, carbs, and protein, or compositions of all of them, okay, right? So therefore, the body says, okay, if you're going to rid me of any carbohydrates in the system, I either have to go to protein or I have to go to fat. The problem with protein is the body knows it's a very dirty and inefficient way to get a lot of calories, to get a lot of energy units, because there's only 4 energy units in protein, but there's 9 energy units in fat. And it's easier to go get the fat because if it's going to go get it from protein, it has to break down muscle tissue. So it has to break down the muscle tissue, so it's got to go get the energy. First, it's got to go break down the muscle tissue, then it's got to separate the nutrients, and then it's got to go get the energy calories. The nice thing about fat is it's just sitting there, and it goes and accesses the fat, and it pulls out the 9 units of energy. So therefore, you're basically getting the body to be starved of carbohydrates, so then it focuses on going and getting the energy from fat, which is the process called ketosis. And just one side note, our bodies go through ketosis every day. By the way, right now, I'm going through ketosis. You know why? Because I'm kind of starving, okay, right? Like I haven't had any breakfast. I've been working for 2 hours. I'm doing this. I'm using calories. Remember, guys, your body can only hold about 16 to 18% of its total calorie load of carbohydrates in the system. And so at any one time, your body is just holding about 18% of the carbohydrates or energy units from carbohydrates that it needs a day, okay? That's why we get hungry. So when we get hungry, that's why when we use up our carbohydrate stores, we have an appetite. And so we go get more carbohydrates and we eat more throughout the whole day, okay, right? And so I hope I explained that right. The main point I'm trying to say is that your body doesn't hold on to a lot of carbohydrates. It holds on to a lot of fat, but it doesn't hold on to a lot of carbohydrates. And so because your body's always using a lot of energy, then it's going to create the appetite, which then causes you to go consume more carbohydrates because that's what it's used to burning. So anyways, the whole point of this is that you're trying to say, listen, I'm not going to give you any more carbohydrates, so I'm going to focus on you consuming, you going and getting energy from a place that is actually more cleaner, more efficient, and has more units of energy for you called fat. And for most of us, we have a lot of that is stored and in excess amounts that we want to get rid of. So anyways, that's the whole thing. Here's the problem, though. This little thing of ketosis, baby, once you get in it, it is really easy to get out of it. And that's why, and by the way, once you get out of it, it's hard to get back in it, okay? This is why I'm telling you guys, if you're not having the success from the ketogenic diet that you think that you should have or you expect or you don't know, right? It could be because you are not being very diligent or being very, I don't know what the word is. You have to be very, very specific and regimented in making sure that you're eating the proper amount of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And you cannot deviate from this because the minute that you accidentally consume a bit more carbohydrates or even a little bit more protein, it will bunch you, it will kick you out of ketosis. And so anyways, guys, this is why it's a diet or a weight loss plan that honestly, I mean, a lot of people have success with, but a lot of people fail. And the reason why they fail isn't because the plan is wrong or it doesn't work for them. Now, I will say that there's a small percentage of people that know it doesn't work for them, that their body actually metabolizes fat differently, and that's what comes from that genetic testing and things like that. But that's a very small percentage, okay, right? Most of it is that they're not being so diligent about their macros, and that they will kick themselves out of ketosis every once in a while, and it's hard to get back in, okay, right? And so here's the thing, guys. So what is the proper amount of macros, okay? So here's the thing. There are these keto calculators that you can use on the web. You can type in keto calculator and you'll see that they'll say, okay, hey, so what's your age and what's your height? What's your activity level? Basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out how many calories your body needs to sustain itself, okay, right? And then based on how many calories that it needs to sustain itself, it's then going to break it apart into how many protein calories you should have, fat calories you should have, and carbohydrate calories you should have, okay, right? And I think that they work pretty good. The plan that we put together on healthybodychallenge.com, I had to pick a number. I couldn't just give you a calculator or whatever. And I figured, hey, listen, you know what? At the very end of the day, let's start you with 1,200 calories. And 1,200 calories, you'll always know, is kind of the basis that everybody in the nutritional world kind of sits people at. If they had to just randomly pick a calorie number that's not going to make you deficient and probably is something that would sustain you, for most people, they pick 1,200. I don't care if you're 300 pounds or if you're 100 pounds. It just seems like 1,200 calories has been a nice start. I got to just start you somewhere, okay, right? And so then you take the 1,200 calories and you say to yourself, okay, 1,200 calories, now what is the right percentage to be on a ketogenic lifestyle? So here's the thing. If you want to be like really regimented, if you want to do it like the research shows, if you want to do it, okay, right? Here's how it works out. 75% of your calories will be from fat, okay? Another 15% of your calories will be from protein, okay, right? And then 5% will be from carbohydrates, okay, right? And so 75, 80, 90, 95, oh, sorry, 10 to 5%, okay, right? And the reason why this is kind of a key number here is because it really kind of depends on really how committed that you're going to be. If it were me and I was trying to lose weight, then what I would do is I would be around this mark here, okay, right? I would be around 5% of my calories, whether I was doing 1,200 or 1,500 or whatever. Now here's the thing, okay, right? So basically you take this number, you times it by 75%, and you get the number of calories, and then you divide that by 9, and that will give you the grams, okay? You take that number and divide it by 4, we'll take that divided by 4, and that would give you the grams. And you'll notice that these keto calculators do that for you, okay, right? And so you can do like this nice little calculation to figure out how much you should be consuming, okay, right? Now, one of the things, remember, that is super key in the ketogenic lifestyle is the amount of carbohydrates. And that's always the question, right? It's like, well, how much, I know it's supposed to be low to restrictive carbohydrates, but how many carbohydrates? Can you just give me a number? Well, really, a good number, no matter if you're 300 pounds or 100 pounds, okay, right? And I know, hey, listen, I could be super specific, or it could be specific enough to make sure that you are well on your way to getting some results. And that's what I'm kind of doing here, okay, right, with the next number, is that looking at your nutritional, looking at how many grams of each of these things that you're taking in, right? If you can stay under 20, net grams of carbs, you're in a good place. So 20 net grams of carbohydrates per day. Net grams, so you have a product. Let me try to find one. Okay, so watch this. Here's the keto bar, okay, right? And let's take a look at this as like any product that's out there, okay, right? Any type of thing you pull from the store shelf. And you see a nutrition facts panel, and you see the amount of carbs. This has total carbs is 25. Total carbs is 25, okay? There's 25 grams of carbs in each bar, in keto bar. Holy bejesus! Jeevers just told me that I was supposed to stay under 20, and he just built a bar that has 25. What's he trying to do? Like get me fat? I'm not trying to get you fat. So here's the thing. I said that's total amount of carbs. I need you to stay under 20 net carbs. And net is a very important number. So here's the thing. There's two numbers, and only two numbers, that you can subtract from this 25. You can subtract numbers from sugar alcohols. And sugar alcohols are basically a type of sweetener that doesn't have the insulin or glycemic, for a geeky word, glycemic, a spike that would cause an individual to store fat. Remember what I've been teaching about insulin, right? Anything that you consume that spikes your insulin level is going to cause your body to store fat, because insulin is the hormone that tells the body either I'm going to store fat or I'm going to start break down fat from existing fat stores. That's why everything that you do in your nutritional life, you'd like to make sure that it's very insulin inhibitive. Okay, right? And I don't even know if that's a term or a word. But like, I know insulin is, and I know inhibit is a word. But I don't know if those two words are things. Anyways, and so you want to inhibit, you want to keep your insulin levels low. You want to consume foods that keep your insulin levels low. Those are highly fibrous foods. Those are protein foods. Those are fat-based foods. All of those things, they keep your insulin low, so it tells your body, don't store any more calories. And by the way, if I'm doing energy, if I'm doing something and my insulin is low, I'm going to have to force the body to pull calories from fat areas, okay, from fat stores. So you can subtract the sugar alcohols, and there is 16 sugar alcohols here, okay, right? The next one that you can do is fiber. So by the way, these are the only two that you can subtract from total carbs. That's the only two, okay? And there is a total of 8 grams of dietary fiber here, okay, right? So here, there's 24. So you can subtract 24 from 25, and there is now 1 net carb. So that's the thing, guys, is that when you look at your food, any type of food, and you're figuring out how many carbs are in that food, whether you're on the ketogenic lifestyle or whether you're not on the ketogenic lifestyle, you should always be focusing on how many carbs that you're taking in, but specifically how many simple carbs that you're taking in. Those carbs that are actually spiking insulin levels and are high in glycemic index. Think of those are the carbs that are causing you fat, causing you to be fat, okay, right? This is the number that you're focusing on, is the net carb. And so you're always trying to stay under 20 net carbs. That is the general rule. Now here's the second thing. The second thing is protein. So one of the questions somebody asked me is they said, hey, listen, if I want to eat more protein, is it okay? How specific, well, her question was actually, how specific do I need to be with my numbers? If they told me that I'm supposed to eat 100 grams of fat and, 50, and I'm just throwing this out there, guys, 100 grams of fat, 50 grams of protein, and 10 grams of carbs, how specific do I have to be? You know how specific? Very specific. Yes, you need to eat 150 and 10. That's it. Can I eat a little bit more than 10 carbs? No, you can't. Can I eat maybe a little bit more of protein? No, you can't. Stay exactly to those numbers. I know, guys. I know it's hard. Nobody wants to count things. Nobody wants to do things. But I'll tell you what, guys. This is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be simple. And we say that all the time. And I don't know why people can't get this in their head, is that life is not easy, but it is simple. If you want to get to your goals, if you want to do all of the things that you aspire to do, if you want to reach your potential, get ready to get things that are hard. But you have to get your mindset is that this is so important that I will stay on this track. And like I said, no one's asking me to do it forever. You know my saying, as Michelle always says, do what you can, when you can, the best you can. I'm not asking you to be perfect all the time. I'm asking you to be perfect when you can. And when you are committing yourself to a 90-day weight loss plan or a 180-day weight loss plan, or for some of you should be on a 365-day weight loss plan, okay, right? That you should commit yourself to be exact. And if you can't do that, then you should probably reassess your goals and reassess your commitment and realize, honestly, that's probably why you're not at where you're at, is because you're not willing to do the things that are needed to do. Anyways, you don't need to hear that rant. So here's the thing about protein. The reason why you have to stay direct with protein is because protein is something that if you take in excess protein, protein can actually be broken down in the liver, and it can also be stored in the muscle as sugar. And so that's the thing, is that protein, if you eat too much protein, that excess protein can be stored in the liver, it can be stored in the muscle, as the same element or a similar element as the carbohydrate. And so that's why you want to stay, you want to be careful of protein, okay, right? Is that fat doesn't do this. Fat can't be broken down and be stored in the liver and the muscle as the same element that would cause you to break yourself out of ketosis. And that's probably one of the biggest issues that I see with people that are like, hey, I'm staying on track with my fat, I'm staying on track with my carbohydrates, but I don't seem to be getting the results that I want. And it's because that they're not staying specific on the protein. They're thinking in their head, hey, protein's good, protein's healthy. I've been hearing about how I should eat more protein, and maybe it's the leftover from some of the high protein diets and how people were losing weight on that as well too. But do remember, you can't be meshing like, I'm going to take the best part of this diet and the best part of this diet, the best part of this diet, and create like one diet for yourself and say, oh, this is why it works, because everything in that diet, remember, it works specific to the context of that diet. So anyways, guys, so you kind of got that, okay, right? I honestly don't know how much time that I have. I don't want to go over. Do you know? I don't have a timer or anything. So anyways, I'm going to go until somebody comes in here and tells me to shut up. And so here's the thing. And so we've got a few, and so on the nutrition plan, I hope that this was really clear. I've got about 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Hope the nutrition plan is clear. You'll notice that on the healthybodychallenge.com site, we've got a nutritional plan. And when you go to the Keto 30-Day Burst, or whatever it's called, there's two plans, okay, or two guidelines. There's one that shows 10% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates, and then there's another one that is 5% is coming from carbohydrates. And honestly, I mean, I probably should have just chose one, you know, right? But I was just trying to give you guys the range of where you could be at, the top level that you could be at, and the quote unquote the bottom reasonable level that you could be at. Because even though I put in the number 0 amount of carbs, it's hard to not consume any carbs. And I'll tell you why, is because one of the things that I desperately need you to be eating is vegetables. And vegetables inherently have carbohydrates, okay, right? And so you can't be at 0, okay, right? And so therefore, I would love for you to get all of your carbohydrates from vegetable sources, and I would love for you to be under 20 net grams of those carbohydrates, okay, right? And so that's why I kind of gave you a range, and then you could also see what the numbers were, how much fat, how much carbohydrates, how much fat or protein in grams. And then what you would do is you would go to the next tab and you would see all the approved foods, and you would see the amount of how much you could consume of those approved foods, and you could start writing down what your meal plans would be like. I mean, you have to do a little bit of work. Everybody, I get it, wants me to just give them a plan. Do this plan, do this plan. Problem is I don't know if you like avocado. I don't know if you like dairy. There were a question somebody asked me, said, hey, what do I do if I don't like dairy? I totally get it. Unfortunately, or not fortunately, but there's a lot of the healthy fat sources, because fat's hard to get into this diet. I mean, when you're consuming 100 grams of fat or 120 grams of fat, it's not easy to do. I mean, you have to like find some shortcuts, and foods like heavy whipping cream and butter or ghee, if you will, you know, sour cream, and it just seems that a lot of concentrated healthy fat sources are from dairy. So that also don't have a lot of carbohydrates, because remember, you have to find a source that has a high amount of fat but not a lot of carbohydrates. Like avocados are fantastic. They're a high amount of fat, but they also have some carbohydrates. So it's not as good in numbers as if you were going to get heavy whipping cream that has a lot of fat and very little carbohydrates. That's kind of the trick to this kind of whole diet. And so therefore you have to do some work. You have to figure out what are the foods that you're going to be able to consume and what are the meals that you were going to create. And Tracy and those guys have created amazing kind of, recipes which make it very easy for you. My suggestion to you is that for 90 days, don't get too flexible. Flexibility is the kind of mistake that most people make, or is the evil, it's not even the right word, the problem that people get into when they get in these 90-day programs, is that you need to just pick, if I were you, I would pick 2 or 3 breakfasts that fit the profile perfect, 2 or 3 lunches that fit perfectly, and 2 or 3 dinners that fit perfectly. And if I were you, I would eat that every day for the next 90 days. And I know that would suck, but at the very end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, I'm doing this because I know that if I don't stay very regimented, if I don't stay very strict, I'm going to not get the results that I want. And it's only for 90 days. Like, for goodness sakes, like, do a gut check, do a head check, do a heart check. Are you really in this? Right? So make it simple for yourself. And that's why that lower calorie nutrition plan, it had some great benefits. One, it was, a lower calorie plan, and some people do well with that. But secondly, the fact is that you only had a certain amount of groceries to buy. You can only buy 3 or 4 fruits, and buy 3 or 4 vegetables, or 3 or 4, it was a little bit more, but at least that you knew what to get, and it made your life simple. And I'll tell you what, people that get to their goals are ones that keep it very, very simple. So anyways, you see that approved food list, and then you've got the products that are helpful for you. You've got the bars that are great for snacks. If I were you, I would consume 1 bar a day. If I was on the 1,200 calorie plan, I would consume 1 bar a day, and I would cut half of it, and I would eat half of it at 10 a.m., and I would eat the other half at 2 p.m. I would be definitely taking Rev and making sure that I'm taking Rev 5 to 10 minutes before each of my meals, not my snack, but each of my meals, making sure that I stay one of the key things about Rev and products like Rev is you need to do it at the same time. You need to try to eat your meals at the same time. So 8 o'clock, noon, 5 o'clock, if that's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you need to try to stay at those time frames as best as you can. Remember, your body loves expectancy. And then you've got shakes like the keto meal shake. You've got the fit shake, which has a great nutritional profile with healthy fats. You have a great keto shake that has very little carbs, no carbs. Add heavy whipping cream to it to increase the amount of healthy fat to it. And so you've just got a lot of really great tools to be able to accelerate your weight loss. But remember, the nutrition plan is what really does the heavy lifting. So let me get to these questions real quick. So the first one is, how do I incorporate the Healthy Start Pack? Great point. So one of the things is that, remember, you're watching your carbs, okay, right? And if you're taking BTT and Beyond Osteo, the BTT especially, you've got some carbs in there. So if I were you, I would actually take the BTT tablets. The great thing about tablets and capsules and soft gels in regards to a program like the keto is that you don't have any added flavoring elements, and so sweetening elements or carb elements. And so that's why I actually advocate people, I think there's only one product that really you should be focused on is making sure that you do get your BTT every day, and probably your best course of action is instead of going with the powder, I would go with the BTT tablets for that. And if I were you, I think that for 90 days, I would look at all of my supplements and I would reduce the ones that have carbohydrates. And I would keep on the ones that are just no carbohydrates and are either tablets or soft gels or capsules. And another product that's really great too, by the way, is Rebound. Because one of the things with the ketogenic plan is you end up losing or have the possibility of losing a lot of mineral health. And that's because of the fact that early on, that's the whole keto flu that they talk about, is that your body, when it starts processing fat, it sucks up a lot of minerals to do that, and it creates almost like a dehydration and almost makes it feel like a flu. And so Rebound is the Rebound packets, by the way, not the Rebound cans. What I would do is I would take a Rebound packet, and I would take it in half, and I would put half of it in 16 to 32 ounces of water, and I would drink it in the morning, and then I would do it again at nighttime. Hydration is super, super important on the ketogenic lifestyle, just because your body is going to create, number one, a lot of waste when you start breaking down excess fat. And secondly, it takes a lot of energy to actually break down fat. And if you are overweight and you are losing a lot of fat, you're going to create a lot of toxicity when you start breaking down that fat. And that's why you want to make sure you are constantly flushing your system. What do you do when you stall? Here's the thing about the ketogenic thing, is that you're not stalling. There could be a lot of things that are working very intrinsically, very deep in the body that are trying to align itself. So you just need to stick it out. I'm sorry. I would love that everybody would have the same results when they do it for 90 days. But remember, based on your age, based on how long you've had your weight, based on how much weight that you have, based on your genetics, based on your environment, based on your stresses, all of these things, they come into play when you're trying to get healthy and when you're trying to lose weight. So it may very well just means that you just got to stick it out. And you may be going just awesome for the first, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and you stall for 2 or 3 weeks. Listen, it's expected. That's what happens. And you just got to push through it. And you have to, if you stall for like 3 months, now we got a problem. Now we got to switch something up. Maybe you need to do more exercise. Maybe you need to switch on the plan. Maybe you need to take a break. I mean, that's a real stall. A real stall isn't 2 weeks or 3 weeks, okay? And just real quick too, by the way, oh man, I was going to tell you something. Oh man, I forget. Anyways, the next question is, how low can you go on your protein grams? Listen, stick with the numbers. You need to stay with those numbers. If your protein says 50 grams, stay at 50 grams. If you go too low on your protein, remember, protein is a building block of muscle. You'll start ending up losing muscle mass. If you lose muscle mass, when you get off this plan, you're going to have a harder time to keep your weight because remember, muscle is the only engine that eats up calories. That's why some of these other diet plans are bad for you because you end up losing muscle weight and they end up gaining all of their weight back even though they're eating the same is because they've lost the muscle and they've lost the engine to burn any calories. Longevity-based keto versus regular keto, really the key thing is you'll notice when you research keto, they do promote a lot of oils. And as you learned from Dr. Wallach, and by the way, if you tuned in yesterday night for my call, I talked all about oils and the issue with oils, whether they be anything from seed oils all the way to coconut oils, is that there is an oxidation, there's a rancidity that is with oils when you take them out of their inherent food, and that causes digestive issues, and digestive issues causes the inflammation, which then causes toxicity, that causes weight gain, and a bunch of other health issues. And so that's really the biggest difference between what we promote on a ketogenic R90 keto longevity program and ones that you may read out there. Do percentages matter? Yes, percentages matter like crazy. I hope that you got that. And then, can I eat less vegetables? Listen, no, you can't eat less vegetables. Eat the right amount of vegetables. Eat a lot of them because at the very end of the day, vegetables out of any food is the most powerful medicine that you can put into your body. Your macros and stuff, they do change on weight. And so that's where these keto calculators can be very helpful for you. You put in your weight, you put in your height, and blah, blah, blah. But if I were you, if you just want to keep it simple for the first 90 days, go on 1,200 calories, base everything on 1,200 calories, and then afterwards, if you want to change it up, change it up. If I were you for weight loss, I would do that. If you want to continue and maintain this lifestyle, which is up to you, then I would start doing it based on your proper weight and activity levels and things like that. How do you transition to keto? I think the best way to transition, actually guys, just real quick, and we'll probably have to stop here. One of the things about transitioning to keto is that you can do it cold turkey, okay, right, which is great, or there's been a lot of science that shows that getting on keto, doing a 2-day water fast. And I haven't talked a lot about that, but spending 2 days in which you consume nothing but water will force your body into ketosis. And that may be a really great solution for those of you that don't mind that. And it could be a very efficient way to do it. Because you know the whole point is how fast can you get into ketosis. And once you start getting into ketosis, you can start burning fat. And so a 2-day water fast works, or just saying, hey, listen, you know what, tomorrow my macros are going to change and I'm going to start eating more healthy fat, protein, or whatever. There isn't kind of this gradual thing where it's like, hey, first eat 50% of fat, and then eat 65% of fat, then eat 75% of fat. If I were you, I wouldn't do that, because I'll tell you what, the one thing about ketogenic is that if you don't get into it right away, and you don't do it in that intense fashion, you will end up gaining weight. So this is one of those things, guys, and I'll end on this, is that you can't jump into this by dipping your toe in the water. You got to jump all in, because if you put your toe in the water, there is a lot of research that has shown that you will end up gaining weight because your body is saying, hey, this fat, I'm not supposed to be using this as energy. I'm supposed to be using this as a storage source, and you're still consuming carbohydrates, and it starts burning those carbohydrates like it's always been, and it gets all screwed up. That's why you got to get your body into learning as fast as it can. You are not getting any more carbohydrates. You're going to have to force yourself into using this fat, and once it does that, and it does it quickly, then you start seeing the watershed amount where you start losing fat. So anyways, guys, I have ended. I'm done. You know what you're doing? You're going to the Youngevity fan page and you are going to go check out our new announcement, our new news, and I hope that it's as exciting as for you as it is for me. It's a new day at Youngevity, and it's probably one of the most exciting times of our entire history. And I hope to see all of you in Dallas in August, because we're going to have amazing speakers, new products, new faces, new personalities. If there's any time that you want Youngevity to get in you, it's being at one of our annual events. And there has not been any event that we have put on, that we have committed to making an incredible show like our 20th anniversary. It's an amazing thing for Youngevity, and I hope to see all of you there. So I'll go check Facebook here in a little while. Sorry, I'm not on it all the time, but I'll check on it to see other questions that you may have. So thank you very much, and I think they'll probably come in here and turn me off here in a little while, so I'll just kind of dance till then, and kind of do my little jig, and do my running man.